And welcome to everybody who's joining us either live in Zoom meeting, those on the London Vegans Facebook group. We are London Vegans, as you're obviously aware. I'm Brian Jacobs. We have monthly meetings, usually on the last Wednesday of each month. So a very big welcome to you for this evening's meeting. Very pleased to have with us, is it Grace and Anastasia? And they're from an organisation or company called Patch Plays, and they put on plays with a vegan theme. They're vegan themselves, and they're going to talk more about what they do and their work, and I think a little bit about the play that's on at the moment in London. So without further ado, I'd like to hand over to them to tell you more about Patch Plays and activism by using the theatre to get over the vegan message. So I'd say thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. Thanks for having us. We're just going to start off by introducing ourselves. And before we do, we are actually zooming in from Southwark Playhouse, from outside the rehearsal rooms. If you hear any musical noises, there's a musical theatre that's being rehearsed next door. So all part of the show. My name is Anastasia, and I'm the artistic director of Patch Plays.
And my name's Grace, and I'm the writer of our current show, Blood on Your Hands, and one of Patch Plays' associate writers as well.
So yeah, we'll just introduce ourselves a little bit, how long we've been vegan for. Grace is very impressive. She's been vegan since birth. So you want to chat a little bit about that?
Yeah, so vegan since birth. I can't really take any credit for that. It's all down to my parents. But yeah, I'm a writer, so a lot of my work does focus on vegan themes. And it's something that's really deeply important to me. So yeah, it just kind of comes through my work, and I think it's something that can be really effective. The activism through creativity is something that I'm really trying to capture through playwriting and novels and TV and all sorts of different mediums. But yeah, vegan since birth, which is always a bit of something to pull out that impresses the vegans, which yeah, is honestly the best thing I could have asked for really from my parents. So yeah, and also Annie.
Yeah, so I've been vegan for about 9 years, and I grew up acting. I then went to uni where I started directing theatre and fell in love with it. But I really wanted to find a way in which to still be promoting the vegan message through my art as well. So then Grace and I met, and perfect writer-director combination, and we make work together, and we have been for the past 4 years together. So I'm just going to share my screen, and we'll have a little PowerPoint to go with our talk. So let me just present full screen. Great, so we're Patch Plays, and I'll just tell you a little bit about how we got started. So we founded in 2020, and it was in the midst of COVID, and our very first production was an outdoors scratch night. So scratch night is an evening of new plays. So we got lots of new writers together who would present 10-minute short plays on the themes of climate change, animal rights, and animal ethics. And this was our first show. It was done when restrictions were just lifted. So we were able to do a production outside at a beautiful vegetarian cafe called Tide Tables. And it was just a really wonderful way to connect with other creatives who were interested in the themes. So yeah, our whole sort of mission really is to promote veganism through entertainment. We think all forms of activism are so important, and we wanted to find a way in which we could also be activists using our creativity as a tool to make people start engaging and thinking more deeply about our effects on the natural world and on animals. We also do this through different genres. So we'll be telling you about the different shows that we have put on together. We've done a musical for children. We're currently doing a gritty new drama, and we also have done a one-woman comedy. So using different genres of theatre in order to engage different groups in society, really. We also run these new writing nights quite regularly, these scratch nights that bring together lots of different creatives. So if anyone is listening who is interested in also working with us and getting into the theatre scene as well, a little bit more about how to do that later. So yeah, these new writing nights, how they work, we put call outs on Instagram, on our social media. We put on 6 of these events last year, and we've put on at least sort of 2 a year since 2020. And this as a company is really how we find the projects that we want to do to put on and develop as bigger productions. We bring in lots of different people. We don't work just with vegans. So both of us, we're both vegans, as we said, and we try to find like leading creatives who are on the projects. But it's important for us to be really open and welcome people in who might have never in their lives have thought about veganism, and as a way of working with us to start thinking about it. Likewise, we also engage with people who maybe are very passionate about climate change, but haven't really thought about the animal ethics side of it. And of course, we do work with a lot of vegetarians and vegans as well. And it's amazing when we want to meet more people.
Always great to connect with people who ethically align and just kind of understand what we're working towards as a company.
Exactly. So we're thrilled when we find more vegan writers and actors to work with, which is great. So yeah, that's a little background to the company, to these scratch nights that we have been doing. And our main shows. So yeah, over the past, well, nearly 4 years now, produced 3 main shows, and 2 of them, Meet Cute and Blood on Your Hands, started off as these short 10-minute scratch night pieces that then we spent, you know, a whole year really developing with the writers. Grace will tell you a little bit more about Blood on Your Hands. So to begin with, I'm going to pass over to Grace, who will talk about Birdie's adventures in the animal kingdom.
Yeah, so this was kind of how I met Patch Plays, really. They were doing a call out for children's musicals that looked at the themes of veganism, animal ethics, and climate change. And it's kind of the most vegan story ever, how we came across each other, because at the time I was working at Unity Diner, which, if you don't know, is the fully non-for-profit vegan restaurant run by the activist Athling Ed. And Patch Plays had reached out to him to see if he knew any writers or anyone who wanted to be involved in the company, and he passed it on to me, and I reached out, and yeah, we met there and started developing this show together, which really focused on themes of veganism and making it accessible and approachable for young children. So yeah, basically the show itself is for 5 to 9-year-olds. And it's a really fun, light-hearted musical that follows this one young girl called Birdie as she goes on an adventure through the animal kingdom and tries to see lots of different animals, all very light-hearted and upbeat, but just a way to empower children to kind of know the truth about animals around the world and how humans can have an impact tangibly. So obviously a lot of shows kind of look at plastic use and things like global warming, which we also look at. But basically the story follows Birdie as she goes on an adventure. She goes to the ocean where she learns about plastic. She goes to an iceberg where she learns about global warming, learns about deforestation in a jungle. And then at the end of the show, she goes to a farm where she learns about the dairy industry and the meat industry in a very appropriate for children kind of way. And yeah, it was really important for us to connect with that younger generation. Obviously, they'll be the ones that, you know, have to deal with the impact of climate change the most in the future, and it's kind of going to impact their future more than any of the previous generations. So we thought, yeah, there's a lot of shows, there's a lot of work out there that looks at climate change, but not really so much that looks at the impact of veganism on the climate. And yeah, I think children especially tend to connect to animals a lot. You kind of hear the stories of kids who, you know, find out what meat is made out of and say, I'm never going to eat it again. And I think children really do connect through those stories, and their empathy is really easy to engage with, especially when you've got songs and dance and puppetry and lots of bright colors and things that are really, really connect to that children's joyful playfulness. So yeah, we took this to the Harrow Arts Centre in 2022. Yeah, 2022 now. And we spent kind of 8 months developing the show, working with 6 actors, and we had a full band, and we put this show on. And it was such an incredible opportunity to connect with the kids in Harrow. Got some really great feedback. We had one comment from someone who said, oh, my grandchildren wanted to be vegan and they didn't seem very happy about it, but that was kind of kind of the intentional
mission unlocked when we got that review.
So yeah, no, it was a really special time, and it was really impactful to explore this show and have the Harrow Arts Centre as well, which is a really beautiful space. And it was just a real treat at the very kind of beginning of the company and our partnership to be able to stage things, and we had support from the Arts Council as well, so we could make a really impactful show for everyone, which was really, really special. And then since then we've taken it to the Greenhouse Theatre just last summer, which is a completely zero waste space that's kind of made out of wood and totally sustainable, and a really lovely way to connect with other sustainable and eco-focused theatre groups, and like like I say, connect with the children. And that's the most important thing, is just spreading the show and having an audience of children that kind of want to hum along to the songs and connect with the material and just learn a little bit more about how we as people can have an impact on the natural world. And yeah, it was great fun, and we're looking to hopefully in the future take it to schools and connect with vegan kids and non-vegan kids alike. There isn't much material out there for vegan children, and I remember as a vegan child myself, I think it would be really impactful to be able to go and see something that you can see that story represented on stage and talk to your school friends about it and have something to connect to in a really fun way, but also to then bring to non-vegan children who maybe haven't considered it before and don't know the truth about climate change or plastic waste or veganism, and just kind of empower them with the skills and the knowledge that they can have an impact with their own personal choices. So yeah, that's a little bit about Birdie's adventures.
It was really great as well when we were doing it. Children are so restless, especially that age. And I remember the very first time we did it at Harrow Arts. So these pictures are from a Harrow Arts Centre. It's just remembering them being really glued and really focused and actually very quiet for the whole of the 60 minutes, which was hopefully testament to the fact that they were really listening and actually invested in the story and the characters as well. So we definitely want to do it again. We've got a little trailer. I'm going to try and see if it works, just to give you like an idea to the flavour and the style of the show.
Saving the world happens step by step. It won't be overnight. Saving the world, one choice at a time. We must fight to win all of our might. Saving the world is bound to be hard, 'cause there's only one world for us to safeguard. And if it's gone, do you happen to know another planet we can all go? No! This is the last chance to save the world.
So that's Birdie. I'm just going to go to the next show. So another show that we have done as a company is called Meet Cute. Very different genre for adults, as we can see from the poster, and it's a one-woman comedy that focuses on a 25-year-old called Lena who tries to veganize all of her Tinder dates. It was written by my cousin, BB Lucille, who's another associate artist with the company. And this was presented at one of our new writing nights in 2020 as a 10-minute piece. And we really wanted to continue developing it because the feedback we got from audiences who weren't vegan was that comedy was a really good way of sort of tricking people into coming to see something that, from seeing the poster, from hearing about it, they thought would be, just an entertaining 1 hour to come along to, but actually then sort of drop fed a few sort of seeds for thoughts. So we've done this show for 3 years now, and we started it off touring it in London Fringe venues. So the London Fringe scene is amazing. There are lots of small theatres that provide an excellent opportunity for new artists to bring their work in its early stages. So we brought it to Chiswick Playhouse, also the Bread and Roses Theatre. We started off 2 nights at Chiswick Playhouse, then Bread and Roses was a week long, and then we did Camden Fringe as well for a few nights, which was really great to experience taking it to different venues across London, because we would engage different demographics as well. So it's really important to us to engage different ages. So we've got children with the musical, with the comedy, we've got adults, young adults as well. I think other artists, people in the fringe sort of scene interested in this sort of work. And then also older audience members as well in Chiswick, which is a more affluent area. So sort of just widening our audience scope. And yeah, the comedy basically sees this woman go on these dates using her sensuality, her femininity, to try and seduce these men. And through doing that, through these dates, to try to convert them. It's semi-autobiographical. My cousin is amazing. She does actually manage to convert quite a lot of the guys who she does go on dates with. So we were just chatting about it one night in my garden. And then she was like, oh, I should just write a play about this. So she did. And we then took it to Edinburgh. So we took it to Edinburgh in August 2023. And it was the first time our company had produced a show for 4 weeks. So we'd done, a few shows here and there, but taking it to Edinburgh Fringe Festival was incredible because we were able to reach so many more audience members and also go beyond sort of our friends and family and people hearing about it just through word of mouth. Taking it to Edinburgh really widens the pool, and then you get strangers coming in who may never have engaged with this sort of work at all. And we used, pop music in it. We had Megan Thee Stallion. It was very bright, very colourful, lots of dance numbers, choreography, trying to make sort of a piece of theatre that would be more commercial and would bring people in through the comedy lens, wanting to be entertained. And we're currently developing it into a short film. So we took the short 10 minutes that it used to be as a short play and adapted it into a film script, and it's currently in post-production. So the next steps are going to be taking it to film festivals and screening it, which is really exciting. So as a company, we're also trying to bridge over to film and see how we can adapt our theatre work for screen, again, reaching many more people than you can in theatre sometimes. So that was Meet Cute. These are a few photos from the show. She dressed up as a leopard in one of the scenes, prowling around the stage, also in these ridiculous sort of ponchos. So it was all very bright and colourful. And I've got a little, very brief extract from it that I'll play.
You do realise there's no such thing as ethical killing, right? I have my suspicions.
So that was one of the dates where she goes on a date with a hippie environmentalist called Sparrow, who's very concerned about climate change, but hasn't ever thought about meat consumption. So sort of just poking fun at these sort of stereotypes to raise awareness. Okay, moving on to our current show. I'll let Grace chat a little bit about Blood on Your Hands.
Yeah, so this is Blood on Your Hands, which is currently in this very space we're in now, the Southwark Playhouse. We've been so lucky to bring it here for 3 weeks. It ends on the 3rd of February, so we're, two and a half weeks through. We've only got a handful of shows left now. But yeah, definitely is our biggest undertaking in terms of bringing a show to London for 3 weeks. And yeah, being at this prestigious venue, which has always been a bit of a dream of ours. But Blood on Your Hands is a show about slaughterhouse workers, and it's telling the cruelty of the meat industry through a very human lens in hopes to connect with non-vegan audiences and kind of make them consider a side of the meat industry that maybe they don't know anything about. We've kind of thought a lot about how to best engage non-vegan audiences, because we think it's really important that we're not just kind of preaching to the choir, and that we kind of bring new audiences into this to hopefully have an impact. And a lot of the time, unfortunately, when it comes to the animal victims of the meat industry, a lot of people can easily shut it out, turn away and not pay attention. And I think if we kind of went down this very animals vegan route, we definitely wouldn't reach as many people. So yeah, I thought through writing Blood on Your Hands and going through a human lens that hopefully we can connect people who are empathetic, who do care about human rights issues, but then we can connect the world of animal agriculture to yeah, just to activism and how they live their day-to-day life. And yeah, there's a lot of different ways of reaching out to non-vegan audiences, but this felt like the most effective way for this piece in particular. So yeah, we look at these two characters who form an unlikely friendship. We have Konstantin, who is a vet from Ukraine who's come over to the UK in search of a better life for his family, and ends up working in a slaughterhouse kind of out of desperation, where he bumps into this kind of polar opposite, this lad called Dan, who's kind of this Welsh working class, happy-go-lucky guy, who is always cracking jokes. And yeah, they form this friendship which is unexpected and kind of a bright spot in their very dark day-to-day lives. And through this lens of these two characters who throughout the play you grow to empathize with, even though they're doing this terrible job, we learn how much of an impact this work can have on their mental health, and how the meat industry is kind of rotten from the core, and the animals obviously are so destroyed by that industry, but actually there is a real human impact as well. So yeah, obviously there's a lot of dark themes in it, but there's a lot of humor and lightness as well. And hopefully through connecting to these human characters, we kind of make people think about their own consumption of meat, and how that their daily actions can have an impact on not only animals but humans as well. And I think we have a little trailer to show as well.
Ой, ой, дала, ой, дала. Мама ціці не дала. За копійку продала, а й купила книг. А де той книг? Мишка вкрала, а такая мишка побігла під піч. А де той під піч?
There we go. As you can see from the trailer as well, there's a lot of movement sequences in it. There are different characters as well. There's this parallel as well of sort of the slaughterhouse and the killing that goes on there, and the backdrop of pre-war Ukraine that Grace has really cleverly sort of blended into the script. And people have been really responsive to the subtle parallels that are made within it, that you've written a script that isn't very on the nose and does take some reflection afterwards for the message to sort of drop in. And like you say, it's just about the humanity, about these people who are suffering from the limitations that society is putting on them, just as the animals suffer as well from the chains that they're shackled into. So yeah, Grace has done a really clever job of looking at it through that human lens. And we also have vegan animal rights activist of Eden as well, who's wearing her No Excuse for Animal Abuse t-shirt and her Meat is Murder sign.
Yeah, so we do kind of, through these different characters, the main two guys who are obviously not vegan at all and kind of live in this bubble of slaughterhouse work, contrasted with Eden, who's a vegan activist, and we've worked with real vegan activists as well to bring some projection and some footage to show what street outreach looks like, all different forms of activism really, whether it's through TikTok activism or street outreach, or holding the videos in front of people, and just all these different forms of activism are kind of shown through Eden as she kind of goes on this self-journey of realizing the horrors inside the slaughterhouse and actually going about documenting them and kind of trying to spread the word about how cruel the industry is. So yeah, we see this real parallel between people who are trapped inside the system and people who are trying to open the eyes to the system. And I think for audiences as well, it's a good way of showing them the vegan perspective without feeling like they're being preached at, because I know a lot of non-vegans have that barrier put up that if they're told like, oh, you know, what you're doing is really terrible, they, you know, don't want to hear it. Whereas if we tell it through a fictionalized story where you see what she's going through, but it's not necessarily pointing the finger, hopefully they can see it without having those initial barriers of like, oh, I don't want to hear, I don't want to be told off, that kind of attitude. So yeah, it's been a really interesting way of incorporating veganism into it.
We also have some of our sort of audience reactions that we'll just play for you.
Blood on Your Hands was one of the most spectacular plays I have ever seen. The blood, the guts, it's pure horror. Completely different to anything I've ever seen before about the meat industry. It's what Patch Plays does really well, is like activism through theatre.
Veganism is obviously a really hot topic right now, but we've certainly never seen it discussed from a slaughterhouse workers' point of view.
The emotional poverty, people have to work in these slaughterhouses, and it's just done in a very entertaining and subtle way. It's a very good piece of theatre.
Advertised, you might think, oh, it's a vegan show, it's about veganism, but it's actually about human vulnerabilities, which I think makes the show really strong.
I think we forget about the emotional trauma that they hold and the pressures that they go under, and actually the impact that that can have to the general public.
And I think it's a really important message to get across that, like, people aren't doing this because they want to, they're doing it because they have no choice.
It was emotive, it was moving, it was funny. I'm so glad that I came here today to watch it.
We worked with a lot of vegan activists who are incredible and, you know, are, like Grace was saying, doing street outreach or also TikToks and Instagram, and they sent all these videos in. They also came to see the production and have been just a huge support.
Yeah.
And we work with an amazing animal rights activist called Narina, who knows absolutely everyone in the community and has been just instrumental to connecting us with everyone and bringing in the vegan community. Because even though, like we're saying, we're creating this work to introduce people to veganism if they might have not thought about it before, we need the vegan support as well to get the word out there. And we've seen ourselves how it's been really helpful in a 3-week run as well. We've had packed audiences full of vegan support, which has really helped with the word of mouth and spread it out there, and gives us love in the theatre as well, because we feel like we have people who are on our side and understand the message that we're trying to promote. So it's been really wonderful through this production and through Narina to actually be able to spread out more as well, because as the only, I'd love to meet some more vegan theatre companies. As far as I know, we're the only one in the UK, and it's sometimes isolating because we don't know as many people. So it's been really nice to be able to sort of spread our roots out and connect to people. So if you haven't seen it, come down to the Playhouse. Yeah. We'd love to meet you.
We've only got a handful of shows left now. We're running until Saturday. But we do have a little cheeky vegan discount code for the vegan supporters, which is just vegan12, so vegan and then 12 the numbers.
Yeah.
Just for a little discount for our vegan squad. But yeah, no, we'd love to see you there, and for you to invite non-vegan friends and family members. I think it's a really important way to start a conversation rather than, you know, it's hard to bring up sometimes in personal lives, you know, to have those difficult conversations with friends and family. Whereas if you go and see a show, you know, you can sit out there after in the bar and kind of talk about how the play made you feel and how, talk about the themes. And it, you know, that's kind of our main thing with activism through theatre, is that people can reflect and have those conversations, and hopefully for those in the audience who aren't vegan, you can just sort of plant that seed and make them consider veganism.
Yeah, we did hear our assistant director Lucy told us that her friend was sort of texting her afterwards and saying, I'm reconsidering my burger for dinner. So a few people are, you know, I think put off a little bit off their usual cuisine choices, which was lovely to hear. Okay, so yeah, we spoke about outreach a little bit, and we still love opportunities like this as well to be able to speak to more vegans and connect. And we really want to continue, like going forwards this year, find more opportunities and more events to be able to do that, because it's really important for our company. So it's been nice to have the proper chance to do it with Narina and sort of Playhouse, and to continue in that ilk. We did Veg Fest this year, last year actually, as well, which was wonderful. Our first time having a stall and presenting there as well. So yeah, it's been a good year to start. So we were just wanting to talk a little bit about the artistic side of things, of how we work together. Grace as a writer, myself as a director, we both co-produce the shows, and just a little bit about our process, I guess, of working on Blood on Your Hands, for example, and how it all began. And if you're also interested in creating fringe theatre, I guess a little sort of blueprint of how we've done it. So yeah, we essentially, Grace wrote a 10-minute piece in 2021 at the Greenhouse Theatre, where we did Birdie, and we worked with an amazing company of actors. It was just a short piece with 3 actors, started it off as a short piece again, and saw audience reactions, and everyone responded so well to the friendship between the men being sort of the key point of the story, and we're not going to give any spoilers away, but we got really nice audience feedback from that, and after that we were just like, let's make this into a full-length piece and see what we can do with it. And then Grace made some magic happen.
Did the writerly thing.
What was it like taking it from a 10-minute piece and then having to write it into a 60-minute? What was that process?
I don't know if you remember, but so I'd written this 10-minute piece, and then we were kind of trying to shop it around to different venues, and I was like, okay, I really want to turn it into a longer form piece. And there was that opportunity at a theatre, and they had like a call out for new work, and deadline was at the end of the week. Do you remember? And I was like, okay, I think we should apply. And we were going to send just the 10-minute script and just, see if they, liked the themes, and then we would kind of develop it throughout the period. If we got chosen to stage it there, we were going to sort of write it. But in my head, I was like, no, I want to write the whole piece before the deadline at the end of the week. So, I mean, it was locked down, so luckily I was on furlough.
At the time, yeah.
But so I extended it, and it was like 4 days of intense, just 5 hours long. I was like, I've got to write 15 pages a day. I've got to write it. And somehow, in that crazy sort of just blur of days, within 5 days, I'd kind of extended it into the hour-long piece. And then I had one day to check that it was in English and made sense. And then we sent it off. And we shopped it around to different theatres, and we found that the Cockpit Theatre, where we took it last year, was really just instrumental, an incredible space with such supportive network of creatives and artistic directors. And we owe a lot of the show to the Cockpit Theatre, who have just been so incredible and supportive.
They have a program called their Theatre Maker Scheme. So, we were just starting out, really. We're still very new, but it was the first sort of, proper attempt to mount this show. So their Theatre Maker Scheme is incredible for anyone who wants to give a first go at putting some work out there. They were really, really helpful with us being able to just mount it and giving a beautiful space. It's a huge theatre as well. It's 170 seats, and the space itself is really big and really exciting to be able to work with, as a director in that space, because it's a beautiful black box theatre. You've got all these different levels, and it was just, we were spoiled really to be able to have that environment to work in.
Yeah. No, it was very incredible to have the opportunity at the very beginning of the show to bring it to somewhere that was so special. So then after we got the thumbs up from the artistic director who wanted to stage it, I did a bit of redrafting. Obviously, a play that's been written in 4 days needs a bit of work. Just spent a bit of time editing and making sure it all made sense. And we staged it for 3 performances there in 2022.
Last summer. 2 summers ago.
2 summers ago now.
My goodness.
A year and a half. It got really good feedback again. We had some reviews in, which was really lovely. The cast were incredible at just bringing this story to life, and we just knew that it had to go on further. And we always kind of had this other playhouse in our heads as the place that would be the dream location for it, really. And then, since then, been doing a lot of producing, trying to fundraise for the show to bring it here. making theatre is so prohibitively expensive.
And it's getting worse. Last year, it was really great, actually. We got
Yeah.
funding for the children's musical for Birdie and Blood on Your Hands. We first did it. So in 2022, we got funded as a company twice by Arts Council, which was incredible. And then this year, it's been much more difficult to sort of scramble and put bits together because it's gotten a bit worse, unfortunately, governmentally with sort of the arts funding that is available. So trying to sort of find other ways of funding a show, really, and especially for a 3-week run.
Yeah.
It gets more expensive the further you go, the longer you go.
Yeah, and it's crazy that we had a bigger budget for 3 shows in 2022 than we have had for this year for 21 shows. But you know, we pushed ourselves to just try and make it happen as much as we could. And yeah, we're working voluntarily on the project and just trying to make it happen as best as we can, because we believe in the project and the message and trying to get it out there as much as possible. So yeah, producing has been a real eye-opener, and it's been really tricky, and there's been so many hurdles along the way. Especially, it always comes down to the funding, unfortunately, because we hear from vegans from across the country who are saying, oh, we'd love if you could take it here, or I'd love to see it if I wasn't on, in the north, or I wasn't in Wales, or but it's just, yeah, we have to do as producers, even though our hearts lie with writing and directing, lots of practical things go into producing as well, which is time consuming, but so rewarding once we get to this stage and we've got the show on. And yeah, so we're always looking to reach out to vegan creators and producers, and yeah, no, it's always great to connect with people, and hopefully next time around we'll have some more producers on board who can help us with those fundraising things.
That's one hope, I guess, for the future, is to just expand our network and meet more vegan creatives and meet more vegans who want to join us in making this sort of work happen, because we found the more we broaden out, the stronger the work is, the more sort of perspectives, different people have different strengths that they can bring to a project. We've learned so much from doing the show. We had great advice from the marketing manager at Southwark Playhouse of making rehearsal trailers and show trailers and the audience reactions, and that leading to better ticket sales. So yeah, we've just found that the more sort of new people who come on board onto projects, creating theatres, like people say, I mean, I don't have any children. People say it takes a village to raise a child. I feel that way about putting shows on, that it really takes a lot of people. So we'd love to expand. We'd love to tour our shows. We, did Edinburgh once. We'd love to do that again, potentially with this show, be able to take it on a tour, take it to Wales, take it to Ukraine, keep going, bring this work to more communities, really.
Yeah, no, that's definitely a big dream, and we've been in touch with theatres in Ukraine who would be interested in maybe staging it. Obviously, would be difficult in the current climate, but yeah, I think the more we can reach more people, the further the message can go. And I think that's kind of both of our biggest thing is just we want it to be presented in front of people so that they can, have that experience of activism through the theatre. And the more that we can stage it, the more new work we can create, the more vegan creators or just creators in general that get involved, the wider the net spreads, and the more the message gets spread. So I think that's our main thing, as well as also expanding into film, like Annie was saying before, short films or TV shows, or we're really open to lots of different genres, and hoping that as the company grows, the opportunities for bigger venues and longer runs and different genres, and who knows what the future holds, but the more we can use this platform as a platform for activism, the better.
Kind of said it better myself. And yeah, before questions, the way to find us, so we're on social media, we're on Instagram, Facebook, and X, the new Twitter. So Patch Plays Theatre is how you can find us. And if anyone wants to get in touch with us at all as well, you can email us at patchplays2020@gmail.com. And if you are wanting to come down to Southwark Playhouse to see the show, if you Google Southwark Playhouse or even Blood on Your Hands, it will take you straight to the website, how to get tickets. So yeah, come on down before Saturday. Maybe we can meet people in person. But yeah, thank you so much for giving us this platform to do a little presentation on activism and theatre. And if anyone has any questions, we can go into that briefly now.
Thank you ever so much for that. I'm just going to just add a spotlight onto there. I tell you, if anybody any questions, if you want to either post them into the chat box or raise your hand, just say I've got Nina just says that she saw the play last week. Really compelling, great job. So a little bit of feedback
Thank you.
for you. I think there's got John has a question. If you want to unmute John.
Yes, very enjoyable. Thank you very much. It's a question for Grace. You say you're vegan from birth. I'm just curious, how long before you were born were your parents vegan?
Yeah, good question. My mum actually went vegetarian when she was really, really young. I think like sort of 8 or 9. So she'd been vegetarian for many, many years. Her dad was actually a butcher, which was kind of the main reason why that happened. And I remember she was a very sensitive child, and you know, as soon as she realized that the animals that went into the slaughterhouse were the animals that ended up in the butcher shop, she she made that choice pretty quickly. And then she met my dad in the 90s, and he was inspired by her. And yeah, they were kind of, obviously it's been difficult. It's been a lot harder for veganism, you know, in the 90s and the early 2000s than it is now. But yeah, they were kind of vegan since 96, both of them, when they met, and then 98 I came along, and then yeah, that's the story really. So a long time for my mum, and she impacted my dad much the same as Meet Cute.
yeah, exactly. The original.
Yeah.
Thanks for the question, John. Thank you. But by the way, Anastasia, was that in the Meet Cute? Was that you acting, or it somebody look like you? Was that you or somebody else?
No, it's my cousin. We have very similar noses.
Okay.
So my cousin was acting in it, and I directed her in it. So yeah, two woman band for that one.
Okay, that explains that one. I tried a few questions. I think some of them actually you've answered along the way, because I was going to ask, you know, because a play has obviously a short life in the theatre, so then it's either a case of touring a play or videoing it and becoming a film. And for what you're saying is that there are really options for both of those moving forward. But are there any more plays that you've got in the pipeline that may be coming up over the next year?
Yeah, well, we are going to do some more scratch nights this year as well, to try and start developing some new work with new writers.
And hopefully a festival as well. One thing, we don't have any like secure plans for it yet, but through doing these new writing nights, we've met so many writers with amazing ideas. And we would love to just have a festival that would take place over a week that we could curate to sort of get new play ideas mounted up. So yeah, hopefully 2025 maybe. Watch this space.
Yeah. Thank you. Letitia wrote two things. One, I missed your workshop last year. Will be another one coming up? I think I'm assuming that's the scratch plays, is it, or that's something else? The workshop that you do.
That I don't know if we did a workshop. We did a presentation like this, a similar one. So it might have been.
So she says, animal rights activist, went to watch Blood on Your Hands. Love theatre and writing. Love to keep in touch. And then there's the details. I can send that on to you afterwards. What was the other questions I have? How long does it take to actually, from the beginning of it, obviously you have an idea of what you're going to be writing about, then how long before that becomes a fully formed play?
Yeah, good question. So I suppose it took, I mean, I'm hated by writers because I am quite a quick worker. So
for Grace one day.
When I wrote the 15-minute version, it was a case of a day's work on that, and then 4 days work for the hour-long version. But then obviously that's just the writing process, and then comes the long period of redrafting and getting the staging together and everything like that. So I mean, we're at this stage here where we have this longer run, so it's taken about 1.5 years to go from the very beginning to where we are now. It's a very slow moving industry because yeah, it costs a lot of money and it takes a lot of time to fundraise and everything. So
and also to find venues. So the point of like reaching out to a venue, writing to them, pitching, and then waiting to hear back, that took about 6 months with Southwark Playhouse. And then we had a rehearsal period of like 3 weeks as well. So yeah, this has taken overall 1.5 years, but really concentrated like producing of getting the venue, doing the rehearsals, getting it up about 6 months time.
Wow, that's a long period of time, isn't it?
Yeah.
But once you've done it, I mean, obviously once you've created it, then it's really just a case of seeing to getting the funding to be able to put it on somewhere else. And you've got the infrastructure, but presumably though you've got different actors, so then you have to train up new actors and like starting from scratch, but you've got the foundation, I suppose. So it should be a little bit easier, I guess.
Yeah, hopefully.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. It would just be a case of going into rehearsals and yeah, after we'd found a venue and had all the funding in place, it would just be another case of a few weeks of rehearsals and getting it back up on its feet. Because rehearsals don't really take that long in comparison to.
It's great though being able to rehearse the same show. So having sort of the scaffolding, the blueprint creatively of the show, and then having a new cast and then bringing new things to it as well. I love theatre as live, so I love doing the same show but always trying to find something new in it. So we embrace that sort of challenge.
Okay. And by the way, if you do go to Ukraine, there is a vegan restaurant there that's supposed to have been kind of there's been funding for it because it's providing vegan food to the community. So I assume if you contact them, they may be able to put you in touch with a local theatre once Ukraine's gone back to normal, if it ever gets back to normal there. So, John, you had another question. You want to unmute again?
Yeah. Yes. I was going to ask, do you find that people in the artistic world are more likely to be vegan than average, or just the same as the general population?
Ooh, I'd say there's probably a slightly higher percentage. I think because, yeah, I mean, we work a lot with people kind of our age just because that's kind of who we've had access to. Obviously, we'd love to work with people across all generations, but kind of the people that tend to come to the scratch nights and who kind of are involved with patch plays are all kind of in their 20s. So maybe that has a slight skewing that, you know, people are in, you know, a bit more of that social media vegan world a little bit more. And I guess through being a creative, you have to be able to connect to that empathy. If you're an actor, connecting to the internal psychology of people and considerate and that sort of thing, which isn't always the case.
Yeah, more likely to be open-minded. Although naturally we'd be attracting people who share our values, but equally so we've met a lot of people who are very passionate about climate change, especially at our age, but don't connect the dots between climate change and meat and dairy eating. So that's what we're trying to really connect people to, that because I think a lot of people do really care, but they don't understand that there's a really easy way of helping that without having to abandon, you know, I don't know, flights, but more difficult ways of combating climate change than just giving up meat and dairy. So yeah, I think people are more likely to become that way who are artists and creative because they're more open-minded, but it's not always the case that they automatically are.
Thank you, John. Any other questions? Because I know that Grace and Anastasia are about to go off to not participate, but I guess was it monitor or make sure everything's going well, or supervise the play, which is starting in a few minutes' time. Just got the comment saying, so I'll just read what it says. Procedure says, thanks for the amazing work that you're doing. Will the plays be aired online at some point in the future for those who are not from the UK? Good question.
We'd love to do something like that. There's a whole, the short answer is it's possible, but there's a whole funding element to that as well. So essentially it's being able to fund that sort of happening, but we'd love to do that hopefully later on in the year. So yeah, we've got gonna investigate.
Yeah, the reason it's difficult is just because contracts would have to change with actors, and it would be there's a lot of kind of behind the scenes annoying stuff that we'd have to just make sure actors were all okay with it, that we could get a properly recorded version. But yeah, we'd absolutely love to.
So I think another question that ties in with that is, are the plays ever being live streamed? So I don't
Never done that yet. We would love to do that because especially with the longer run, there is the option to be able to live stream a show. So we need to just get the sort of recording equipment, get someone in to film it. But I think next time we do something, we should definitely do a live stream to be able to bring wide audiences in. So we need to get our tech hats on and do that. Yeah.
And I think tied in also, someone saying is, are you thinking of making a DVD of Blood on Your Hands? I think we'll just have to watch this space, I guess. Final comment just says, very inspiring. Best of luck to both of you and your team for your great work. I'd also like to thank you very much for coming and speaking to us. All the best of luck for the rest of the run for the play. Hope everything goes well. And if I can ask people if they could unmute and give a round of applause to our guest speakers, I appreciate them. Thank you.